Communicable diseases. How we will define the communicable diseases? Basically, the diseases which can be spread easily among the population, among the community members, they are called communicable diseases. So, we also call them infectious diseases. Means they can easily transfer from one individual to an other individual, and both plants and animals are their victims. There are the agents which spread the communicable diseases. They are called pathogens. So first we have to understand what are pathogens and how we can define them. Pathogens are microorganisms that can enter into the body of living organism and can cause disease inside the body. They are microorganisms that can cause different type of diseases inside the living organisms. There are basically four types of pathogens which cause communicable diseases are infectious diseases, bacteria, viruses, protists, and fungi. If we look at the bacteria, they also cause many different types of infectious diseases. First, we need to note some very prominent points about the bacteria. Bacteria are very small cells, and but they are cells. There is a major difference between bacteria and viruses, and the difference is that we uh, put them under cells section, but viruses are not cells, so they don't come under the section under the feature. They don't carry the features of living cells. So bacteria basically are very very small cells, and they are so small that they are almost 1/100 part of human cell. Means if you divide a human cell into 100 equal parts, so they are equal to one part, 1/100 part of human cell. And how they cause illness inside the body? Basically, when they enter inside the human body or in the body of living organisms, either they are plants or animals, they produce toxins, poisonous materials, and these toxins, they damage cells and tissues and ultimately cause illness inside the living organism. So, and but viruses, which are the second type of pathogens, they are not cells because they don't fulfill the parameters of a plant or animal cell. They are very very small, very tiny chambers. We cannot call them cells, but they are very small. They are even 100 times more smaller than bacteria. Means they are 10,000 times smaller than of human body cell, 100 times smaller than of bacterial size, and 10,000, at least 10,000 times smaller than of human body cell. uh, what how they cause illness? Basically, they enter into the cells of living organism and they replicate over there very quickly. And when they replicate, and then uh, after being hundreds and over thousands, they burst the cells and they damage the cells in which they are going to replicate. And when they damage the cells, that cause the damage towards the cells, the damage to cells and tissues cause illness inside the living organism. So they replicate inside the cells, and when the cell in which they are going to replicate burst, so it get damaged, and this damage lead towards the illness of the living organism. The third type is, we call them protists. Basically, they are single cell eukaryotic cells. They are single cell eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells, you know the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. The main difference, they have nucleus inside, and the prokaryotic cells, they have no nucleus inside, and they are like a primary type of cells, prokaryotic cells. So eukaryotic cells, they have a nucleus inside. Single cell eukaryotic cells, they are protists, and like different type of parasites living inside the living organisms, and sometime outside the living organisms. They can live on the skin of the living organisms, and they can live inside the living organism, inside the body of living organisms. So they are, and they cause diseases where they are living in, inside or outside. Normally the protists, they are carried by a vector. It is very important to understand vector. Vector, basically the organisms which are carrier, uh, from one organism to the third organism. The middle organism, there is a carrier. They don't get the disease themselves, but they carry the disease from one organism to the other organism. Like in case of malarial parasite, the mosquitoes are carrier. They carry the disease from one mosquito to the healthy human beings, but they themselves are not affected by the parasites of malaria, plasmodium. So these are the four types of pathogens, and the pathogens are the agents which cause communicable diseases, which are also called infectious diseases. Thank you.